Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. As we look ahead to game week 8, my name is Joe and today I'm joined by Mark, aka the FPL General. Welcome, Mark. How are you?
I'm good, Joe. Good to be back. Always nice. I feel on Monday, the second Monday of the international break. It feels like we're back. We're back in routine. We do our usual things in the run up to a game week. So yeah, the first week I find painful, but I'm looking forward to the weekend now.
Definitely. So yeah, we've got lots to chat about here. So last week we looked at all sorts of things like catching up on most attacking teams, worst defences, most expected goal involvement of any players so far, those types of things. And this one, we're going to look specifically at some of the things that Mark's looking to do and other people might be as well. So he's got Cunha, for example, looking to get rid of. So we'll look at some alternatives there. If you're looking for an alternative midfielder, this will be relevant to you as well. Also with forwards as well, Mark's got, well, I know he's got Chris Wood in his team as well. Bad fixtures for Nottingham Forest, bad manager for Nottingham Forest as well. Also, a few question marks after Pedro at the moment. I'm not sure people will be looking to remove ahead of a good fixture run and with him being suspended in Europe. But nevertheless, people are looking that way. So if you're looking for a new forward in that sort of price range, this is for you as well. I'm also going to look at Justin Timber. Is he the guy? No, sorry. Did I say Justin Timber there?
Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, Justin Timberlake. Yeah, we're going to also look at Justin Timberlake there and just see if he really is the real deal in FPL. Jurian Timber, of course, I meant there. Everyone's talking about him, but is he the real deal and how does he stack up against all the other players and indeed all the other singers as well? Before we go on, just a reminder, do press that like button. It does help us out. Have a look at your team. So it hasn't really changed from last week, but do you want to just run through your team and some of the things that you're looking at there?
Yeah, so only one free transfer, 0.1 million in the bank, so very little flexibility this week. Currently set up in a 4-4-2, and I like most of the picks, but I don't love the fixtures. That's the issue this week. Nick Pope's in goal away to Brighton. Back four, Virgil, Munoz, Senesi and Porro. Feels absolutely fine. Midfield is Saka, Bruno, Semenyo and Kudus. So I like Porro, Kudus at home to Aston Villa. Up front, Gyökeres, João Pedro. Two players that have been underperforming, but hopefully with decent fixtures will improve. And on the bench, Dubravka, Chris Wood, Cunha and Anderson. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to exploring some options if I was to sell Cunha or Chris Wood this week. João Pedro I'm a bit concerned about as well, but obviously Chris Wood will go first.
Okay, so let's have a look at midfielder replacements at the moment. So you got Cunha. So what I've done is I've done a table here looking at... So I'm still laughing at the Justin Timberlake thing. So we're looking at options under 8 million. These are all regular starters, and I've sorted by best expected goal involvement as well. So there's a hell of a lot of options here. There's some already in your team. You've already got Kudos and Semenyo, but pretty much any of these are pretty good. Although there is one name on there that I know you'll never go for. So we'll start with the top. Ismail Sarr. But he's best for minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty, so far this season, in terms of all players in this price bracket, so under 8 million in midfielders. Every 134 minutes, so he's created 5 chances, 4 shots on target. He's had 7 shots in total, 36 FPL points, got 3 goals and an assist so far. It's the fixtures are slightly problematic, in that you don't want to go for him now, perhaps. You've got Bournemouth and then Arsenal. And Arsenal, a tough defence. But then it gets better. So it's sort of game week 10 is Sarr time. However, you could get him now. You've got a player you need to get. You probably want to get Sarr at some point from game week 10.
Yeah, watched a fair chunk of Crystal Palace games this season, and when you do watch them, whether it's 90 minutes or highlights, Sarr always stands out, basically out of position, really good player, playing for a good team, good manager. He ticks almost every box, maybe not set pieces and stuff like that, but he doesn't really need them to be a good value asset at 6.5. He is definitely near the top of my list. Cunha to Sarr feels like a no-brainer, really. Frees up money as well. Fixtures, yes, it doesn't feel like the best time because it's Bournemouth Arsenal, but I don't currently have an Arsenal defensive asset, and if I got to game week 9, then having him against those who do have double Arsenal or maybe even triple Arsenal
Yeah.
defense could be, just a different way to play it, and hopefully he wipes the clean sheet then. So I'm not against going there maybe a little bit earlier than others will because of the fixtures. So
Yeah.
yeah, if Cunha was to go this week, he will definitely be in the running.
Okay. Next name on here in terms of minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty is with every 177 minutes there is Enzo Fernandez. Obviously getting a lot of traction because Palmer is out till at least game week 12. Enzo Fernandez took the last penalty. We don't know whether it's him and Pedro there, but he's definitely in the mix there at the very least. He's also got 3 goals and 2 assists, 5 attacking returns for only 6.7. He looks good. However, he does have an inflamed knee. And so he came back from his country. So he's missed the second game of their international break because of this knee issue. So we don't know much about it apart from he can't play in that second game. But he was seen training, but with some kind of specialist strapping on as well. So he's a slight unknown at the moment. He'd be yellow flagged. I haven't checked the flag situation at the moment, but he should be yellow flagged at the moment. It's a tough one, but yeah, I like with João Pedro in game week 1. I do get the feeling though that there's some people who are interested in getting him in, but I think there's such a bandwagon created. I think people are just sort of caught up in that. Nevertheless, 5 attacking returns, 6.7. And Chelsea have great fixtures. Nottingham Forest, Sunderland, Tottenham, Wolves, Burnley, right up until game week 12. These are really good, strong attacking fixtures. But yeah, are you interested in him over Sarr?
Yeah, he's going to be in the mix. It was I was doing my own podcast last week, Friday, and I didn't even intend to talk about him much, but I must have mentioned him about 25 times. And it's one of those where you go in and you record a podcast and you come out of it thinking, right, I probably should get this player, given how often I've spoke about him. But the slight injury concern is worrying. There was some kind of strapping on that knee, which is you never like to see that. It's always a bit of a concern. But if there was no international break injury there, he's going to be very popular. I think while Cole Palmer's out, again, ticks all the
Yeah.
boxes, as you mentioned, penalties, etc. Just a really good player as well. Knows how to arrive in the box to get goals from open play as well. But I think on current information, injury status, Sarr is probably safer.
Yeah, I think so as well, especially with Enzo with Chelsea. So obviously with Palmer out, he's going to be needed in the sort of arguably bigger games, and the bigger games are going to be in the Champions League. Also with Chelsea, of their up and coming game away to Nottingham Forest. Perhaps last season that would have been, we got to play our best players. But Nottingham Forest now, they barely scored. In fact, they haven't scored, I don't think, under Ange. And they're defensively very fragile. It's a fixture you can afford to rest some of your best players, basically, especially if you've got congested
Yeah.
fixtures.
And I'm sure, some people who made early transfers, started the international break, probably got Enzo Fernandez. And if you did that, obviously you just keep him and you play him and you hope for the best. But those who haven't made transfers yet, then yeah, we need a really clear update, a really, a green light that we can go there. And if that doesn't come on, in the pressers on Friday, I think we probably just have to wait a week and see.
Next name is Eze at Arsenal. 3 assists so far, so he's not getting the goals, so he's 7.6. So in actual output, he doesn't stack up against Enzo Fernandez or Ismail Sarr. But nevertheless, not to be ignored. Arsenal's fixtures, they're second in the fixture ticker from game week 8 to game week 15 behind Brighton. And they've got some great fixtures in there. Burnley and Sunderland away, Fulham away, Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace is probably their toughest game, actually. And then they got Brentford, Aston Villa in that mix as well. So it's a good run of fixtures. But yeah, people are looking at their defence. People are looking at Saka. People are going off Jokeres. So if you don't fancy double defence, you could go for Eze. So he's in the mix for you, definitely.
Yeah, just on Gyökeres as well. I've got Gyökeres and Saka, so I do have a third spot open, and Eze's definitely possible. Gyökeres is a funny one. It's like they spend all the money but got his twin brother instead so far. It's not really happening for him, and I haven't been a happy owner watching Arsenal games. But again, I've got him. I'm going to keep him because the fixtures are good and he's going to get the minutes. Eze very interesting to me again as a possible Cunha replacement. Just going triple Arsenal attack. As a differential, I like the low ownership for Eze. I like his minutes now that Odegaard's injured. I think he could, get an increase in attack and returns there as well. I just like the idea of having the the attack and triple up. But again, I probably won't do it this week. Away to Fulham, I think it is. It doesn't feel like the best fixture.
No.
But yeah, certainly is a he's in the mix with Enzo and Sarr for me.
Yeah, I mean, going back to Jokeres as well, because if I made a move, it would be Jokeres to Bowen, who we might mention in the next table. But it just doesn't feel, even though the fixture's okay, like, well, better for Bowen, but it's still Brentford. And Fulham are conceding as well. It just feels a bit sideways. And I think other people might be in that position as well. I think Jokeres he's not a hard sell at the moment.
No, and we know he's a quality player, and the goals will flow at some point for him in this Arsenal team. Maybe it will take another couple of months before we see the best of him, but when he's playing, when he's getting the minutes, when Havertz injured, and when there's good fixtures, there's always going to be a bigger problem in your team.
Yeah, definitely. The next three players I probably won't mention too much. I'll mention their stats, but for various reasons, we're not going to dwell on them. The next one's Semenyo. He's in your team. He's in my team. He's in lots of other people's teams. In fact, he's in 6 out of 10 managers' teams. And we all know about him. You know, he's got 9 attacking returns so far. So there's not much more to say about him. Grealish is the next one. And the reason I'm sketching over him is because anyone who gets him in would be a bit of a fool for the next game, because he's not suspended. He is ineligible to play against his parent club, Man City. So he's a player. I don't want to dismiss him as a player, because he's a very good player. Got 5 attacking returns, a goal and 4 assists so far. But he's one that we would perhaps discuss Game Week 9 when they're at home to Tottenham, who are conceding a lot at the moment. And Gakpo as well is a problem that I won't really mention. He does have 4 attacking returns, but that might be off the bench, and we don't know whether he's going to start or play. He's just going to be a bit of a headache for anyone to get in. So he's not one that I don't think either of us would recommend getting in. Next name, though, is one you won't get because it's Jayden Anthony, and you never do. He's got 5 attacking returns, more than Gakpo. He is only 5.7. He's actually one of the best captaincy shouts this week, if fit. This week at home to Leeds. He's starting every game. He's had 12 shots, 7 chances, 7 on target. 7 shots on target. I was a bit worried when he came off in the 59th minute, but it was an injury, or rather he got a knock, I think, to his thigh. And so I'm not if the manager comes out and says he's completely fine, then it's fine, he'll start. So he wasn't like dropped, it wasn't tactical or anything like that. But you'll still ignore him, I presume.
Yeah, and it's not out of stubbornness or anything like that. It's more to do with team structure, and I don't really need a cheap midfielder at the moment. And again, I still have three forwards that are 3 starting forwards, so I'm not really in a 5-man midfield completely yet. Okay. And maybe when I am, players like that will come into the mix. But yeah, definitely for owners, keep an eye on the injury update later in the week.
Yeah, another player to consider is Brighton's Minte. Scored for his country in a bizarre match against Pierre Aubameyang's team, and I can't remember which country he plays for.
Gabon.
Gabon, where Aubameyang scored 4 and got sent off in the same match. But meanwhile, in that match, they played. I think it's Gambia Minter plays for, and he scored in that one and looked great. Apparently, was controlling everything. So he has got 2 assists and a goal. He's a differential. He's only in 3.5% of teams, or rather was this when I did this table a few days ago. Got 31 FPL points, 11 shots. He's starting every game. Brighton best player at the moment. And he's had created 12 chances, so he's got a bit of everything. The reason I mentioned him as well, Brighton are top of the fixture ticker. Newcastle, Manchester United, Leeds, Crystal Palace, Brentford, Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa, West Ham, right the way up to game week 15. It's a strong run. Yeah, I mean, I've already got him, so I'm a bit biased, and I'm a Brighton fan. But yeah, he's one to consider. But even though you perhaps not going, you don't need to go cheap. But if you ignore price, he's performing better than a £6 million player.
Yeah, really good. Really like what I've seen of him this season. I agree with you. Brighton's best player. Just always looked a threat. I look at the numbers every week on the the scout members area, and he's often popping up for chances created and stuff like that as well. So just a really good player. I still feel like he's going to be a player that's going to continually get overlooked for other options. and the ownership will remain low. 3.5 is extremely low given, how good he's been so far this season, certainly on the eye test. So I think at any point in the season, he's probably going to be a differential option for people.
Yeah.
Folk might be more inclined to get, DEFCON midfielders, for example, or just spend that little bit more. Again, I'd probably spend a little bit more, Sar, Enzo, Eze, these kind of players. But if you've got a Haaland structure where funds are maybe a little bit tighter. I don't think anyone's really struggling financially this year because of the cheap defenders and stuff like that. And again, that's probably why Minty's not in too many teams, because it's doable without him. But yeah, always in the mix. Will be in the mix for me, but we'll probably just miss out in favour of some of the others.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a 5-man midfield setup, sort of a 3-5-2, 4-4-2, and I think a lot of people are moving that way on wildcard as well, game week 8. So all these players we mentioned here could be good there for that sort of setup. And Dye is another one at Everton, 6.5. 4 attacking returns so far. Yeah, he will always play. Looking good, and he definitely plays. But once again, it's against Man City, so it's probably not the week to go for an Everton player. And the last name's Kudos. He's already in your team, so there's no point for you personally, but for other people as well. This guy's got 6 attacking returns, pretty good, 5 assists so far. He's in a third of teams, and he's a complete rank destroyer for me because I don't own him. So when he gets returns, he's in that level of teams. That's much more amongst very, very engaged managers. 13 shots, 13 chances created. I sort of wish on wildcard I'd gone for him as well. He's really good, and he's part of this thing. All of the players we're mentioning, they're really cheap. So if you've got a Haaland setup or your setup, any setup really, there's so many of these players to get in, which is probably why I fancy a 5-man midfielder. There's so many I want.
Yeah, it's hard because I think we'd all love a 5-man midfield, but we'd also probably like to have 5 defenders this season as well. It's hard to get the happy medium. Strikers are dying a slow death because of the changes to the game. I'm sitting here with 3 strikers. I want that to become 2 fairly sharpish, maybe even 1 at some point. Just on those couples you mentioned there, just on Njai, first of all, when I think about Njai versus Minty, for example, Njai penalties and DEFCON sometimes. So it's just, again, becomes an easy choice, even with a 0.5 price difference. And I really like what Everton have been doing in attack this year as well. I probably trust their attack more than Brighton's with, Grealish, Dewsbury Hall. And then Kudus is probably my favourite player to own this year because his ownership has been, hasn't shot up as it maybe would do in other seasons. Again, people look at Kudus, they think, right, he's not going to get DEFCON, doesn't take penalties, does take his, fair share of corners and stuff like that. People were going for, shiny new toy, Xavi Simons. But Kudus is basically, in my eyes, he is Thomas Frank's Brian Mbeumo at Tottenham. Very similar player, similar position, similar role. And we know how good Mbeumo was under Thomas Frank. And Kudus, even in the games where he hasn't got attack returns, he's been really close to getting attack returns. So I'm hopeful that he will stick around in my team long term. He was a big part of my Green Arrow in the last game week, and players like him, I need a lot more from to get a few more of those.
I think this shows here. So if you've got, say, Sarr, Enzo Fernandez, Semenyo, let's say one of Anthony Minter and Dye, and then Kudos. There's your 5 midfielders, all under. No, Semenyo's the most expensive, but virtually all of them under 7 million. And that's a really good 5-man midfield, I think. And it's not even one that you would move anyone on for ages.
Yeah.
That's like you can sort of set and forget for a while.
I think that kind of sums up the season in many ways. I mentioned earlier about the financial side of things. Palmer's injured. Yeah. Salah's not good value. And you just look at this table and just so many of these players just scream good value, no-brainer picks, and we can't have them all, which is good for the game, because there will be some variation. And Semenyo will calm down at some point as well. But at the moment, he's obviously the golden child here. But yeah, good to discuss these guys, and certainly good to get some numbers here to give myself some more food for thought. Again, I might not move Cunha this week. I might just bench him. But certainly the week after, I'll be coming back to this list of players.
Definitely. Well, there's so much choice there. Also, bearing in mind, I wouldn't advocate personally going for a 5-man midfielder there because I like a flexible approach. So you would need at least a Saka in there, I think, because Palmer's not around. but he could become brilliant from game week 12, 13 onwards. We don't know. But also Saka's really good, so you want a little bit of flexibility with the pricing there. Let's move on to forward options as well. So very similar sort of price range. I haven't gone higher than João Pedro, 7.7. And once again, I've sorted this by minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty, so the most attacking ones as well. And I've also done regular starters and, of course, that price range there. So top is Mateta. He's 7.5. Only 2 goals, though. Minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty every 158 minutes. It's 17 shots, 11 on target. Starting every game, but he's not. It might be get substituted towards the end. Nketiah's there. Only created 1 chance, and he's no DEFCON, but as you would imagine, none of these forwards will. It's only really in Minter as well, actually getting a bit of DEFCON there amongst sort of more forward-thinking roles. But yeah, none of these lot are. But yeah, Mateta's good, but he just can't. I feel like he's still not doing enough for a forward.
Not doing enough, maybe.
FPL,
But
I mean.
yeah, he's a funny one because you look at him like now is a good example. You'll look at him now and you'll build a strong case for not getting him, and then you'll look back in 4 weeks' time and he's got 4 and 4. You think, right, he was just a good pick. You know, he gets the minutes. Yeah. He's got a shout for pens. Really good team. Surprisingly low number of goals so far this season, but that will improve. He'll get a healthy amount of goals over the course of the campaign. And I just every time I look at Crystal Palace on the FPL website or fixture tickers or whatever it is, or I just look at their last 18, 19, 20 results. I've only got Munoz, and that is not enough. I want Sarr, I want Mateta, and I'm probably going to try and work those 2 in over the next couple of weeks.
The way when I look at this table, and we'll go through the names, but a quick glance at those names for those watching rather than the ones I'm about to reveal to those listening to the podcast version. With the last table of midfielders, I want them all. But with this table, I can live without all of them. I do not necessarily want. I sort of might get them in, but I mean, you're not going for Haaland. Haaland's like the striker. The rest, I could easily go with 1 up front. I'm only going with 2, but none of these I'm like, wow, I've got to get in. Next name, case in point, Welbeck. Minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty every 192 minutes. Not secured to start, but is sort of starting at the moment. He's had 7 shots. Should be on penalties when he's on the pitch. He's had a couple of goals so far, but if you're looking at Brighton attacking assets, Minter's probably the one to get. But yeah.
Yeah, again, I agree with you. I think Jared Pedro's the only one I've got here, and I could also live without him. Yeah. If you're wildcarding this week, you've got to at least explore 1 striker setups. Haaland up top and 5-4-1 or 4-5-1, and you probably end up being able to afford one of these guys on your bench then if forwards do spring to life again. But just in the grand scheme of when you think about FPL, the FPL landscape this year, where are you going to get your best points per million? And it's going to be, it feels like it's defenders and maybe some of the DEFCON midfielders as well. Yeah. So doesn't feel like a season for strikers. And there's also probably a lack of them scoring regularly as well. Haaland being the exception there. Even, Joe Pedro, we'll talk about him in a second, but I think I was looking during the week, he's had 7 shots in the box in 7 games. And Haaland's had 28. So that just shows you the difference. So, yeah, we'll talk through these, but again, it's going to be hard to convince me to buy any of these guys.
No, and I don't want to because I don't want them myself. Now, in my third striker that I will play in a bench boost when Burnley have good fixtures is Lyle Foster, but he will sit on the bench the rest of the time. And the reason I got him in is because he's only 5 million, so he's like getting a Mark Gui in, but one who gets minutes. But he will also get returns every now and again. And another player in that same bracket that's being spoken of is Calvert-Lewin. For those looking to have a sort of a good bench player, one you can play when Leeds have good fixtures, there. He's only 5.5. Very good for a bench boost, I would say. Same rationale as me. He's got an assist and a goal so far. What always happens with players like this is when people start recommending them and then you get a backlash against them and then everyone says that they're just a stupid bandwagon. Calvert-Lewin is what he is. He's a cheap striker in a team that's been promoted that you can play when his team have good fixtures. He's only in 1.4% of teams. I don't know if he'll go up dramatically, but he's had 9 shots. He does have pedigree, and he's at 7 shots on target as well. Created 6 chances as well, and he's third in this table in minutes per expected goal involvement. He's not a ludicrous pick at all. It's just he's a ludicrous pick if you're going to play him every single week and rely on him. But I think he's a fine pick if you just need a good cheap sub, and it's and I've got a bench boost coming up.
Yeah, I've actually enjoyed there's been a lot of debate on social media during the break. Calvert-Lewin backers and Calvert-Lewin haters, and there's a lot to it. We've had quite a few seasons of Calvert-Lewin. We've had some good ones and we've had plenty of terrible ones. But when you zoom out, and I always think if you're playing FPL for the first time this year and you've never seen the Premier League before, but if you watch a couple of Leeds games and you see their striker getting 2 or 3 decent chances a game, and he's only 5.5 million and might take penalties. I know Stack might have taken one, but has a chance of taking pens. As long as he's fit, and that's always the thing with Calvert-Lewin, he doesn't often stay fit for very long, but hopefully for his career's sake, he's on an upward trajectory in terms of fitness. You can't tell me he's a bad pick at 5.5 because he's a striker. He's going to get goals, maybe not a huge amount of them, but at 5.5, you don't need him to get loads of goals. And if you have him, but don't need to, like you say, you don't need to put him in your starting 11 every week, then he's totally fine. You think about you'll see a lot of people saying Calvert-Lewin's a terrible pick, but then they've had Reinders in their team at the same price doing nothing either.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Reinders is a bad pick. I think he's great value, but they're the same price and they're both not doing very much, but they both can get points over the coming weeks. So yeah, again, if I was wildcarding this week, I would at least be exploring the Calvert-Lewin route.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, looking at the next few fixtures, game week 8. He's got Burnley away, fine. West Ham at home coming up after that. Brighton away, no clean sheets for Brighton there. And he scored against Brighton before in his Everton days. Nottingham Forest, they're completely pants. And then Aston Villa at home. And then it gets really tricky with Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool. But from now until game week 11, 12, if you've got Calvert-Lewin in now, you could actually play him. I mean, I say you'd be ludicrous if you played him every week, but you can play him every one of these weeks. The fixtures are there for a striker like him.
There's worse picks that have a lot higher ownership.
Yeah.
And I'm probably not going to go there. I don't need to go there. But I hope he does well over the next few weeks just to stir the pot a wee bit more.
Yeah. Next name's Thiago. It's just bad for fixtures with Brentford. I do like him though, and I would definitely go for him. He ticks all the boxes of like sort of taking money out of attack, putting it in defence and midfield. He's got 4 goals so far. He's only a 3.4% of teams. He's had 12 shots. There's quite a drop off in minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty between him and the rest though, or the ones I've already mentioned rather. Every 287 minutes for him. And Brentford's fixtures, they've got West Ham away, it's okay. But then they've got Liverpool, Crystal Palace, Newcastle, Brighton's okay, Burnley's okay. Then they've got Arsenal and Tottenham. So it's a mixed bag of fixtures, and there's more sort of iffy fixtures than better, which is a shame. But I will have a look at the fixture ticker whenever his fixtures get better, and I'd very much like to get him in because he's exactly the sort of player I want, just a reliable goal scorer for a good team.
Yeah, it's the Timu Pukki pick, isn't it? The 6 million
exactly.
forward who takes pens, and it's a small sample size, but he's looked really good. I was really impressed with him when he beat Manchester United, when they beat Man United. Brilliant first goal in particular, and then in a good position to score a second. So he does come off early from time to time, but I think sometimes that's probably game state related or opponent. But yeah, when the fixtures clear up, I think he will be very popular.
Next is João Pedro, so to benchmark things here, 5 attacking returns. Minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty poor, every 326 minutes. He's had 10 shots. But yeah, he is suspended for the next match in Europe. So he's definitely going to play game 8 and 9, you would imagine. And with no Palmer there, he's in the mix for penalties. Great penalty taker at Brighton. I mean, I did ditch him on my wildcard in game week 7, but I think if I had him now going into game week 8, I'd probably be tempted to keep. If I was wildcarding, I'd probably still potentially remove though. But yeah, I guess that says it all.
Similar thoughts here. I've got him, going to keep him. it's not a hard sell. I'd rather save a transfer than sell a Joe Pedro with a decent fixture. But again, if I was wildcarding this week, I don't think there's any chance I would keep him. So again, it does. It says it all, and it just tells you all about the strikers.
Yeah.
I would be looking at midfielders and defenders to replace Joe Pedro rather than another striker.
Yeah, and complete and carrying on with the list of players, like, I could live without. Strand Larson, he's 6.4. I'd say he's about $500,000 overpriced this season. When you look at Thiago at 6 million, his ownership's 1.4. He only has 9 FPL points, but in a very injury curtailed season with eight shots so far. But Wolves are fourth on the fixture ticker. They've got Sunderland and Burnley next, then Fulham, Chelsea a bit tougher, Crystal Palace a bit tougher, then Aston Villa, Nottingham Forest and Manchester United. So it's all right run of fixtures there. I don't think he can compete with cheaper strikers or the likes of Thiago.
Yeah, I think I agree. I was kind of fairly high on him going into the season, as most people were. Obviously the move to Newcastle didn't happen. There's a couple of things going against him at the moment. He has been carrying injury. Wolves are struggling overall, really struggling. More so than we expected as well. And when I watch Wolves games, there's a lot of good midfielders in that team, but there's not a lot of creativity in that team. And I feel like Strand Larson will be starved of service at times. Andre Gomez, Joe Gomez, Minetti, they're all good players, but they're not, creative hubs, creative type players. So it's going to be hard for Strand Larson to score bagfuls of goals, I think. Yeah, I still think he'll be good value at times, and maybe when these fixtures are better, that this is the time to actually have him. And I'm not against going there just as a differential, because I probably need a couple of differentials. And I like the player, but it's hard to have faith in Wolves at the moment.
Yeah, and last name is probably the only one I would consider myself, Bowen. It's the next fixtures really. West Ham. They were, as we discussed last week. West Ham are not generating a lot of goals, and that a lot of those stats are from the previous manager, but they're still not generating a lot of goals. If they are, Bowen's more likely to be involved. So it's a bigger fish in a smaller pond of goals. He's got 3 goals so far. Minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty, very poor, every 470 minutes. He's had 15 shots. You'd expect the goal involvement, the expected goal involvement to be higher with 5 chances and 15 shots. That's 20 potential attacking returns there, and it's not quite hitting the expected goal involvement mark. He's had 7 shots on target though. It's just the fixtures; they're so good at the moment. Coming up, they've got Brentford at home, Leeds away, Newcastle at home, Burnley at home, and then it gets a bit tougher with Bournemouth, Liverpool, Manchester United, Brighton away. Could get some returns there, so it gets a bit patchy. But it's the immediate fixtures are good. I actually don't think the Brentford one's that good. I think Leeds and Burnley maybe, but yeah.
I'm just I'm recording in the kitchen, and we've got a country road behind the house, and they're cutting the hedge, so I keep having to mute the microphone here.
Yeah.
They should realize people are doing podcasts at this time of day. Cutting the hedges. That's my.
There's a hedge trimming podcast going on, saying I'm really sorry about this, but some 2 blokes are chatting about fantasy football. No one thinks about.
He's recording his podcast in the cab of the tractor. Yeah, that's why my eyes keep looking away from the screen. But yeah, Jared Bowen feels like. I feel like for the last couple of seasons, me and you on this video, we talk about Jared Bowen so much, but we rarely own him. I think you're probably better at me than having him.
Oh yeah, we'll get him in.
Yeah. Again, 7.7. Can you spend that 7.7 better, even across 2 positions, cheap defenders, for example, and midfielder? So yeah, it's the West Ham factor. It's similar to Strand Larson. I really like both players, but I need to trust the team as well to go there. I think that's where a lot of the concern comes with Joe Pedro at the moment as well. You just never know what Chelsea are going to get. So
that's it.
Yeah, it's the death of the striker.
Yeah, I mean, in my case, it'll be Gyökeres to him, and I just think, I think the fixtures are okay for both of them. They're not great, but I want neither of them. Perhaps maybe we can have no strikers, apart from Haaland, obviously. Okay, it's Justin Timberlake time. Jurrien Timber. So what I've done with this table here, to see how he stacks up against the others, I've gone for those with a good defensive contributions and attacking threat. So they've got to have at least an attacking return there. So there's some players like, for example, Tokowski at Everton. I've just removed from this list in that, or rather, he didn't make the list. Obviously, very strong defensive contributions, but he's got no attacking returns so far after 7 games. So I'm only concentrating on these ones. So Timber's top in terms of, I saw this by FPL points. So Timber's top for that. He's also top for minutes per expected goal involvement non-penalty, 220 minutes, which is more than pretty much most of those strikers that we've just been talking about. He's created 9 chances, 9 shots, 2 goals, 2 assists. I mean, these are attacking stats. He should be on the other table. So he's got that there. He's I would say a sure starter that will probably miss a match or two. Because that's just the nature of a big squad like Arsenal's. But yeah, if you've got no Arsenal defence, I think he would go in. I think the question for people though is do you get him instead of Gabriel or alongside Gabriel? And Gabriel's 6.3 hasn't got such impressive stats, but he's still got 47 FPL points, and that's because he's started more, started one more match. He has got a goal already, but he's getting defensive contributions as well, which is also adding to the bonus. So he's more likely to get that, even though his minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalties, very poor, and he's not creating any chances. My answer would be probably get both, but I've got one. I've got Gabriel. I've got to get Timber, but these stats are impressive.
Yeah, I specifically asked you to put this table together because number one, I don't have an Arsenal defender, and number two, I can't afford Gabriel in one move.
Okay.
So the question for me this week is if I decided not to roll and not to make an attacking transfer, is it just the most obvious thing in the world to do just to get Timber when you look at these numbers? Because there's only one overall point difference now between him and Gabriel. But you fast forward 6 or 8 game weeks, it's really hard to predict, who is going to come out on top. They could remain very, very similar, or one or the other could shoot ahead by 20, 25 points just by nature of attacking returns and stuff like that. So I think this is a really, hotly debated topic, Timber versus Gabriel. I think both is really, both is probably the most obvious thing to do, but many of us already have 2 attackers. So we can't go there. So that was the reason. It was, do I just get Timber this week, or do some of these other players on the table, should they be going ahead of him just to keep the door open for Eze, for example? So I've got Senesi on the list, and I've got Munoz. Yeah, I think that's it for as far as these guys.
I think for your point of view, just simply playing the game and effective ownership wise, if Arsenal get a clean sheet, that's a problem. To be honest, for me, with one Arsenal defender, it's a problem if they get a clean sheet, unless they get an attacking return too. Because already with 30% ownership for Gabriel, it says 18% here, but it'll be a bit higher, say 20%. So it's about 50% effective ownership for Timber and Gabriel. And then you've got to factor in another 30% for Raya, so that's 80%. And then you've got to factor in Calafiore, 14%, you're up to 95%. Then Saliba, 95, so 107. Already, an Arsenal clean sheet is an absolute pain for anyone with one Arsenal defender, because their effective ownership is well over 120% there. If anyone's... No one's going to have all 5. You can have 3 and a goalkeeper, but it's possible. But nevertheless, they're going to be heavily owned. You're going to get a lot of people too. So you might get a tiny bit with the effective ownership out of them, but it's already going to be a bit of a problem. So for you, with none of them, just simply playing the game, you're going against a big old crowd there.
Yeah, and that's the predicament I find myself in. The rank's not good already, and I'm already on, I'm on 0 Arsenal defensive coverage. So is it just go against the grain for the sake of being different, which I know is not the best idea, because every time you watch Arsenal, they just look so secure. I was watching the last game, and it was about 40 minutes in, and I'm saying, right, this is a clean sheet. You can almost tell early doors. But again, given how my season's gone so far, given that I'm playing a little bit more off the cuff this year, I probably should just by not going for Gabriel last week and being on 0 going into the Fulham fixture, I probably prefer going Eze now at this stage and
Yeah.
just
Okay.
going all in on the attack, and
Yeah.
then just hope that Arsenal concede often, even if it's just one goal a game, which is always possible in the Premier League. So yeah, it's but yeah, Timber keeps just staring me right in the face. He just looks obvious when you look at these numbers.
And I think from my point of view, with Gyökeres, Saka, and Gabriel, if I did remove Gyökeres this week for Bowen, then I've got enough to upgrade a defender to Timber and have Timber alongside Gabriel. Because already looking at this double Arsenal defense, single Arsenal defense, it's like with the with Salah and Haaland, or whoever, where they're heavily captained. If you own them and you look on live FPL, and it says they've got like effective ownership 150%, well then you haven't captained them, then you can only get 100% from that, and that's it. You're immediately hoping that they fail, and that's a bad situation to be in. So I look at Gabriel and I think, if you're not going to score me a goal, I don't care whether you get a clean sheet or not, because that's just bad news for me.
Yeah. It's just before we move away, just thinking about Arsenal as well, Gyökeres, a lot of us have him, and even if he does start scoring goals, on what we've seen so far, he doesn't look like he's somebody who's going to score a brace often. So you're looking at a goal. You look at a goal, maybe a bonus point. Say, let's say you get 7 points often. The defenders very often are just starting on 6 or 7 points. 3 million less. Timber or Gabriel over Gyökeres and go double defense just seems a bit of a no-brainer at the moment.
Yeah. So a lot of these names are going to be in a lot of people's teams, and we sort of know what they're about, so we can probably sort of sketch over them. But just to mention them there, Senesi, he's already in a quarter of teams. I think it's around 30-40% around my ownership, which is like 1.4 million. Defensive contributions 1.7 per match, so he's absolutely huge. He's only blanked in one of them. And he's got 2 assists as well, so that's why he's in people's teams. Mark Gahey as well is worth mentioning, because he has got 2 assists and a goal. And he's getting defensive contributions like all the Crystal Palace defenders. He's looking the most threatening at set pieces, and set pieces seem to be more important this season than ever before. I think I don't have a Crystal Palace defender, and when I do, I think I'll go for Mark Gahey. And I know you're a Munoz man, so we'll mention them as well. They're in this list. Munoz, a goal and an assist so far, but he's 5.6. Mark Gahey, 4.9, according to this. I think he may have gone up, though, so he may be 5 million now. LaCroix is 5.1, and he's got that 1 assist so far. So, yeah, if you had a blank slate, if you were wildcarding this week, which Crystal Palace defender would you go for?
I think you just go cheap as possible. I think with Richards or Gahey, just they're all getting attacking, they're all getting defensive contributions. I'm on Munoz. I'll probably just stick with Munoz because I enjoy watching Palace games with him. And again, I'm playing off the cuff, so I like the fullbacks more than the obvious centre backs. I do have Van Dijk and Senesi and a few of them, but Munoz I want to stay loyal to because he is a goal machine when it comes to defenders. But yeah, I think I would just go cheap. If it was a wild card, I think that's where the value is.
Yeah. Mark Gahey, 4.9 or 5 million. He may have gone up since I did this table. But he's on 46 points, which is only 2 behind Timber, that everyone's talking about, who costs $1 million more. So in terms of value for money, the Crystal Palace guys probably might be a little bit better. There some other ones. Calafiori's getting mentioned as well. He's got 2 assists and a goal with 14 shots. So it could be him that everyone's talking about in a week or two over Timber. Alderete is good value for Sunderland. Sunderland's fixtures are a bit mixed, but they do have a good next one against Wolves. He's a defensive contribution monster at 1.3 per match. He's got a goal and an assist so far, so attacking threat there. That's probably not sustainable with just 6 shots. But nevertheless, at 4.1, he's on 39 points, which is 9 fewer than Timber. But there's a big old difference, nearly 2 million there in savings. So that underlines the point you were making earlier, Mark, about the sort of cheap defence. Rodon can be put in that mix as well. He's there with a goal, and his defensive contributions like 0.6 every match. So every other match he's definitely in the running for defensive contributions.
He hit the woodwork as well in the last game week, I'm pretty sure.
So he's strong option there. And a couple of two are more of a fixtures play, I think. They're lower down on minutes per expected goal involvement non-penalty, but still quite high. With 2 assists, Cucurella be 6.1, so you've got to pay a lot for him. But nevertheless, he has had 5 shots and he's created 10 chances. Chelsea's fixtures look really good, and they look quite good for attacking point of view and defensive. And Diouf at West Ham. Now, he's not a defensive contribution man, a bit like Cucurella. He's getting 0.3 a start and not 2 points. But he's got 4 assists so far, which is really strong. So all we're waiting for is to add clean sheets to that, which he has the potential to do. He was very close to being on my wildcard team, ready to go for this week. And I've seen him on lots of wildcard teams for good reason. So, lots of alternatives to Timber. You don't have to go for Timber, I think.
Yeah, loads of options. Again, kind of sums up my season so far that I sold Cucurella last week for Senesi. Cucurella gets the assist against Liverpool, and Senesi gets his first game week without defensive contributions. So, but they will be back. Hopefully, that's just a one-off. All the Crystal Palace guys we mentioned, I like them all. Even Mitchell's not on the list, and even he's doing well for DCs as well. Rodon, great value. Jeff's very interesting because Jeff is one of those who he kind of gets hurt by the new scoring system. But you rewind a year ago where there was no such thing as DEFCONs, he would be in every single team at the moment. 4 assists, so cheap, defensive manager in charge now. Just looks good, takes some set pieces. And Cucurella, even though I just sold him, again, I still think he's expensive at 6.1, but the fixtures are coming. And it wouldn't be a surprise to see him, get some more attack returns over that spell. So, we are blessed with midfield and defensive options this season, which makes it hard because there's a lot that we want.
Yeah, I mean, we've hammered this point home, but I hope people get that. We've looked at 3 tables here: defenders, midfielders, and forwards, and both of us can live without virtually all the forwards there, but we want all of the defenders we mentioned and all of the midfielders. So that says if we could go for 5-5-0,
5-5-0,
that would be good. Obviously, you want Haaland, but in your case, you don't. Okay, we're going to finish off by just having a look at the old Captaincy Matrix. Right, the Captaincy Matrix. I've done this up to game week 12, so this is with a view for you as well, particularly because you don't have Haaland or Salah this season, famously. So we're looking at the options here. I've picked the best 3 to 4 captains according to the Rate My Team tool, and which you probably think is broken because it's got Jayden Anthony in this list for game week 8. Yeah, top one is Haaland at home to Everton. Then you've got Salah at home to Manchester United, and then level on predicted points. Jayden Anthony, if he's fit, at home to Leeds, and Bowen at home to Brentford there. For your point of view, you got Saka away to Fulham, Semenyo away to Crystal Palace, I would imagine so far.
Yeah, we've talked about game week 8 since game week 1 that it was going to be a tricky one for me with the captain's armband, and to be fair, I've had quite a few tricky weeks with the armband anyway, so I'm well prepared for more pain. But the obvious ones for me, Saka away to Fulham is probably most likely to win out. Semenyo, I like Semenyo, of course, as everyone does, but as a way to Palace, it's just slightly off-putting because that's a really difficult fixture. The only other one that I'm tempted by is, again, just differential. Kudus home to Aston Villa. He has been pretty good so far for me. And maybe I just back him with the armband when no one else will do it. Maybe his cousins and his brothers might do it, and I might join them this week. But I think Saka away to Fulham seems most sensible.
Yeah. So game week 9. So this is okay for you with your Salah Haaland policy. So Salah's away to Brentford. It's okay. Bruno Fernandes at home to Brighton. A little bit better. Brighton aren't keeping clean sheets. Haaland's away to Aston Villa. It's okay. Pretty good. It's Haaland. Semenyo at home to Nottingham Forest. Arguably, even for me as a Haaland owner, Semenyo is probably the best captain this week.
Yeah, and it's funny, I spoke about this season and I knew it was going to be difficult for captaincy and I needed Palmer, Isak, etc. to emerge, and they haven't really, whether injured or they're not fully fit yet, and I did not expect Semenyo to be as good as he has been. So it's a bit of a he's a bit of a gem for everybody, but maybe more so for me because I can stick the armband on him from time to time. I captained him, I think, 2 weeks ago. No attacking returns. He got the DEFCON that week, but it just shows you I'm prepared to go there,
Yeah.
and especially after the most recent, what was it, 18 pointer. So yeah, certainly game week 9 home to Forest. I own Bruno, but I think I will captain Semenyo
Yeah.
over Bruno
Yeah.
that week.
Game week 10, Saka away to Burnley. Burnley are the worst defence at the moment. Personally, I like that one. Salah at home to Brentford's pretty good. Haaland's at home to Bournemouth. I think me as a Haaland owner, I think I would go for that. But I do think the two I just mentioned are better. So maybe I should go for them. And then Salah's at home to Aston Villa. So there's a bit of choice there, but it's another good week for those without Haaland and Salah, I think.
Yeah, and again, and just I haven't looked at this in too much detail, but just looking at it now, it's probably going to become a bit of a Saka Semenyo rotation possibly for me with the armband for the next couple of weeks
Okay.
until others are fit or others emerge. So
Yeah.
yeah, Saka Burnley, yeah, I think that's an easy one.
Game week 11, Haaland at home to Liverpool, allegedly. But I know Liverpool's defence, but it's Haaland. Bowen at home to Burnley, I like. Saka away to Sunderland. And just on Bowen there, so we have now mentioned him twice now. He's been in the running there. He arguably could be an option for some of those other weeks. And that makes me think I think I want Bowen in my team with this.
Yeah, agreed. When he's in the captaincy conversation, he should probably be in our teams. It's just when we, looked at that table earlier, was it 470 minutes per expected
Yeah,
goal involvement?
it's not
hot.
good, is it?
It's not captaincy numbers, and it's not penalties either, and it's West Ham. I think owning him's enough.
Yeah.
I think no matter what the fixture is, I'd find it very hard to captain Jared Bowen.
Yeah, I think for me as a Haaland owner, I think it would be default there. But I must admit there are better options. And game week 12, hang on a minute, where is Haaland in game week 12? He is not there, so he must have quite a tough fixture.
He's gonna be injured, Joe.
Going to be injured. Man City. Game week 12, away to Newcastle. That's why he's not in there, because he's not considered a very good captain, according to the Rate My Team tool, because Newcastle's defence is very strong, as is Arsenal's. So you're not going to get many Rate My Team recommending captains against Arsenal and Newcastle away. Salah at home to Nottingham Forest. That looks very good. Semenyo at home to West Ham looks very good. By the same token with Salah, Isak, if you don't have him, home to Nottingham Forest. And Saka against Tottenham in the North London derby is very good. For this week, I personally, if I don't own a Liverpool player, I would probably be looking at either Semenyo or Saka, as you saying.
Yeah, Semenyo again. I think I like that fixture more than Saka playing in the
Yeah.
North London derby. But also on that one, game week 12, I think is the game week right after the third international break.
Right.
And by then, surely Isak is fully firing, getting the minutes, and hopefully I'll be in my team by then.
Yeah.
And we're no longer complaining about the lack of strikers. So hopefully Isak will be a captaincy candidate for me that week, along with Semenyo and Saka.
Yeah. Yeah, I personally, might be. That's part of the reason I, as a Joker owner, might keep him, just because the move up to Isak is very doable there. Worth mentioning, Palmer hasn't made this list because he's injured at the moment, but he's due back around game week 12. By coincidence, they're away to Burnley.
Yeah, I
Now,
looked at that.
if he's back a little bit before that, I would consider him for the captaincy. But I think if it's his first game back from injury, Burnley or not, that wouldn't appeal to me for the captaincy, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm gonna need Palmer to prove his fitness in a game or two at least before I go there. I've been burned already too many times this season with him.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks a lot for that. We've gone through a lot there. So good luck with the game week. Good luck everyone watching, listening as well. Good luck whoever your captain, and good luck fellow Jaden Anthony owners. Okay. Take care. See you soon.
Cheers all.